Prepare your brains, because it's the end of 2015. We go see an absurd amount of movies. Apparently, we went to the movies 42 times this year, to date. So what were your favorite movies, Nathalie, that came out in 2015?
Mad Max. I love that movie so much. The story, I mean, there's barely any dialogue, but you follow it, you understand it completely, it takes you in. I hadn't even seen the other ones. It doesn't matter. It completely got me from the start. It's just so beautiful to look at, even though it's pretty gruesome as well.
Same.
And awesomely, it's apparently like a front runner for a lot of Oscars this year, which is pretty insane considering what it is. I'm looking forward to seeing that. So we watch a lot of movies in the theater and not. What was your favorite movie that we watched this year?
This year I saw a film that came out in 1996 called In the Bleak Midwinter. We follow a bunch of actors, a theater troupe, that decide that they're going to put on a play during Christmas, and they choose Hamlet, which is a bit ambitious, and it's hilarious. It's all in black and white, and it's very well written, it's very bantery, and I really had a lot of fun watching it.
So the movie that I chose is a bit more recent than that. It came out in 2014 and it's called Housebound. It's a New Zealand horror comedy. We see this fairly young girl who is forced to stay in her house in her hometown, and she really just wants to get out. And lots of weird things start happening, but you have to kind of wonder, is it actually weird? Is it not? Is there a snowplow?
Nobody knows. Snowplow.
Basically what we get is kind of like a movie that plays with all the tropes that we get in horror films. So a lot of jump scares that are really nothing very evil. They play a lot with music and sound effects to make things scary that we see in our everyday lives but aren't necessarily actually scary in the film. It's really funny, it's really clever. The characters are super fun and you get really invested in the story.
Hey Nathalie, you have a series called Books in Season. What were your favorite books that you read this year?
So I'm actually pretty proud of myself. I read a lot of books this year. I think I've read approximately like 12 or 14. I'm not exactly sure on the count. But I reviewed pretty much every book that I read during the year in my videos. We'll have the link in the description, so if you want to check those out, go ahead. But the book that I preferred is Come Thou Tortoise by Jessica Grant. So basically we follow this girl who is from Newfoundland and she comes back home because there's been an accident with her father. So she's there to check in on him essentially. We see her kind of dealing with things from her childhood in her old house, in her old neighborhood. She's kind of forced to confront things from her past. The characters are just so endearing to me, and the plot is very simple. It's not a complicated story. It's much more character driven, but she plays with time really well, so we get to see how she grew up and how she became the young woman she is today. And I think it's really cleverly done. And plus, I mean, there's a talking tortoise in it. Well, I mean...
What else do you need?
Really. It's really great and I recommend it.
Sirens and dog barking. This is like Christmas. This year I was trying to read a lot more books that I had in the last few years. I did read about 6-ish books this year, which isn't too bad. That's something. One of my favorite books this year is Sparkling Cyanide by Agatha Christie. If you've known me more than 10 seconds, you know that I love murder mysteries, but this one in particular really struck me. It's really clever, and to the end, you really don't know how to solve it. The characters don't either. They're just sitting there going, I don't know, and you're looking, it's like, there's just like 10 pages left. How can you not know? It's that kind of murder mystery where you know all the information and people keep retelling the information to you and you just don't see it. You don't see the actual clue that you're missing. I do, though, have an honorable mention. I did start reading a book that unfortunately I didn't end up finishing before this video, but it's called The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins. It's very early in the novel sort of time period where they started actually writing longer form stories. So it's a little bit like, this is how a novel works in its way of writing it, but it's very clever. It takes you to directions you weren't expecting. It's sort of an ancestor to a crime novel and sort of like a mystery-ish kind of vibe, but there's a lot of twists and turns, and you get it from different points of views of different characters, and it's kind of interesting. I really like this one. Probably would have been my pick if I would have finished it, but I didn't.
So music's pretty cool. What's the favorite thing you listened to this year?
That guy's just singing. He was literally just singing. You were wonderful. Have you started a career yet? Because that was on point.
My favorite this year is that guy.
An album that I've really loved this year is No One Ever Tells You by Seth MacFarlane. He does a lot of sort of crooning, Frank Sinatra kind of big band, orchestrated sort of music. This album in particular is maybe not for everyone though. It's probably one of the saddest albums I've ever listened to. All of the songs on it are about basically being lonely or recently broken up or thinking that you're fine and then seeing your loved one on the street and they don't care and then you're sad. I saw on Twitter once, I wish I could find the tweet so I could just put it up here. If I find it, it'll be there. But someone described it on Twitter as sounding like it's 2 a.m., you're drunk in a hotel room and sad and smoking a cigarette. And I feel like that's exactly what it sounds like. So if you feel like something like that, I recommend it.
So for me, because of what I do, I'm an improv DJ. DJ Nat's got your back. Don't have to use that. Like, so. I have to kind of keep up with a lot of music. I have to constantly update my playlist with new stuff. And some stuff that I hear on the radio, like this band. But what made them different for me is I didn't just put the song I heard on the radio on my playlist. I actually went back and I listened to a bunch of their songs, which honestly I don't often do because it just takes too much time and I have too much stuff to put on it. But I liked it so much. So the band that I'm talking about is Lake Street Dive. Essentially what they are is kind of like if you would mix jazz and indie rock together, which is a weird combination. The lead singer, she has such a like soulful voice. Their lyrics are awesome. I'm a personal big fan of Goes Down Smooth. That's the one that I heard on the radio. But Bad Self-Portrait is also very awesome. They're just really fun to listen to. It's upbeat, so maybe if you're feeling more happy,
or if you listen to my album and then you're like, I need to pick me up.
It's really fun to listen to. It's like listening to modern jazz, but more rock version of jazz. So it's pretty cool.
We also play board games occasionally, often. What was your favorite that you played this year?
So we play a lot of board games. It's like one of our main activities that is not watching movies, frankly. That's basically what we do.
Really.
But one game that really got me this year is Tokaido. Basically what it is you kind of go on a journey from 2 different cities in Japan. Throughout the game you get to stop at different places. So you can go to a market, buy a few items, pretend you see the monkeys in the hot springs, that kind of thing.
Some monkeys.
You can go to a temple to pray, you can do all sorts of things. And basically, you're trying to have the best vacation you can possibly have. So each item that you get or each experience that you have will give you more points. So at the end you kind of can be like, ha! I had the better vacation. So it's a very relaxed game which I prefer. It's not super competitive because games that are really competitive kind of not my thing, but that one I feel like it's just a fun experience to have with friends.
A game that I really liked this year was Betrayal at the House on the Hill. That's what it's called, right?
Betrayal on House on the Hill?
Betrayal at the house on the hill. But words, it's a very, there's the word betrayal, there's a house, and it's on a hill. Betrayal at the House on the Hill, I think.
Probably.
It's really an interesting game because it constantly changes. When you start the game, you start creating a new layout for a house that you're exploring. And it's a co-op game, so you're all working together to sort of find things in the house. And then suddenly the game switches and one of the players becomes the betrayer. So it's everyone versus them. And since there's something like 40 or 50 different scenarios, your game is almost always going to be different. Sometimes it can be like zombies or ghosts, or sometimes just the one person has murdered someone, but it's always a different scenario. So you're playing for different reasons, you're looking for different things, and you're running away from different types of monsters. So it's such a different experience every time you play it, and it's really cool for that. And I like games that sort of renew itself as you play. Yay! Horror!
We obviously watch a lot of YouTube. What's your favorite YouTuber of the year?
A YouTuber that I've really liked for a few years now, but I've watched a lot of this year in particular, is Hazel Hayes. The username on the channel is Chewing Sang. She's an Irish YouTuber. She does a few short films and sketches, and she's very film oriented since she is a filmmaker, so she has a lot of interesting things to say about movies that are coming out or have come out. And sometimes she interviews actors or directors and things, which is really interesting as well. Her channel sort of mixes in sort of a bitter, kind of cynical comedy mixed in with, you know, just pleasant, funny chats with people. And she also speaks out on a lot of issues. That sounds like something that interests you. She's a very funny woman, so go check her out.
My favorite YouTuber of the year is Leanne Says. Essentially, she's a beauty guru type lifestyle person. She does a lot of reviews on products. She talks a lot about her favorite things, and I trust her opinion a lot. I like a lot of the same products she likes, and she's just like a fun person to listen to. She's quirky, she's very weird, and I like it. Like, she feels like a real person that's talking to you. It feels like your friend is just talking about the stuff she likes. She goes to see a lot of movies, so her vlogs are fun for me because I like to see what she thinks about them. We don't always agree, but that's fine, I like that. She's just very charismatic, down to earth. Right now she has purple hair, that's awesome. She's just a really cool person, so I think every time I saw her video was in my subscription box, I always went for that one first. So that's why I chose her for this video, because I love a lot of YouTubers, but she was my go-to this year. And obviously we want to give a shout out to Amélie. She is obviously one of our favorite YouTubers of the year. If you guys don't already know, she has a beauty channel. We'll put the link in the description. It's awesome, and she's a local and one of our friends.
We had a pretty full year of a bunch of stuff that we did that was cool. What was your favorite?
Definitely one of my favorite moments this year was going to see Jamie Cullum in Montreal. We did a vlog about that, so if you want to check it out, you can. It'll be down below. It's a musician that we've always wanted to see live, so it was really kind of like a dream come true to finally go to that concert. It was awesome. I would go see him again in a heartbeat. He was just so charismatic and just, you love him instantly, and it was definitely one of my best moments.
I've had a lot of really awesome little moments all throughout the year, but the kind of obvious thing for me, the big thing this year, is when I went to Ireland in September. I hadn't traveled like a huge distance in a long while, so it felt really good to go explore a different country. I had a lot of fun over there. Well, that was our favorite things of 2015. What did you guys like? You can answer all the same questions or certain questions if you want. Let us know down in the comments below. Maybe some of the things you suggest will be in our top things of 2016. You never know.
And if you want, you can check out our last video by clicking right here, sort of.
Somewhere.
It's me explaining how to do frosted cranberries, so if you need to bring something for New Year's or something. So thanks for watching our videos throughout the year. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you guys in 2016.